Okay, so picture this. A golden ring lost for centuries, a lead tablet with a chilling curse etched into it, and a young Oxford professor who's about to write one of the most famous stories of all time. Today we're getting into the incredible true story that just might be the real-life inspiration for Tolkien's One Ring.
You know these words, right? Of course you do. They're basically burned into our collective imagination. They speak of this fictional ring with just immense world-breaking power and a terrifying will of its own. And this is where we dive in, because the story behind the story is a genuine detective case. It stretches across almost 2,000 years, and it connects a Roman soldier, a suspected thief, and yeah, a very, very familiar author. Our story doesn't start in Middle-earth, though. It starts in the quiet English countryside, with a piece of buried treasure and a puzzle that would take centuries to finally solve.
So let's get our bearings on the timeline here. Way back in the 4th century, a ring just disappears. Then flash forward over 1,300 years to 1785. A farmer, just plowing his field near an old Roman town called Silchester, unearths it. And then, a few decades after that, another clue pops up 100 miles away. For almost a whole century, nobody had any idea these two things were connected.
And this ring? Wow, it is not your average piece of jewelry. It's chunky, 12 grams of solid gold. It's so big, you'd probably have to wear it on your thumb or even over a glove. And it's got this kind of crude carving of the pagan goddess Venus on it. But then, someone later scratched in this misspelled Christian blessing for a guy named Senicianus. So you've got a pagan ring with a Christian prayer on it. The mystery is already starting to build, right?
And that name, Senicianus, well, that is the key that unlocks this entire story, because it shows up again on a totally separate clue, found miles and miles away from the ring. So, 100 miles from where the ring was found, at a place called Lydney, archaeologists were digging up the ruins of an old Roman temple. And there, they find this thin sheet of lead with a message scratched into it. And the message on this tablet makes everything click into place. It's a curse. A man named Silvianus lost his ring, and he flat out accuses Senicianus of stealing it. He's asking a god named Nodens to basically make the thief sick until the ring is returned. Suddenly, that Christian blessing on the ring makes a whole lot more sense, doesn't it? It looks like Senicianus was trying to ward off this exact curse. This kind of thing actually has a name, you know? It's called a defixio, or a curse tablet. This wasn't just some random angry note. It was part of a real, recognized system for getting justice when, the regular courts couldn't help you. But this was way more than just wishing someone harm. The way these curses worked was incredibly clever. It was like a mix of law, religion, and, well, a little bit of divine blackmail. Academics still argue about what to call these things. Are they curse tablets, or are they more like prayers for justice? The truth is, they were probably a bit of both. At the end of the day, it was a way for a regular person to go straight to a god and say, "Hey, I've been wronged. You need to help me." The logic here is it's brilliant. Think about it. Step 1, your stuff gets stolen. Step 2, you write one of these tablets, dedicating that stolen item to a god. So now the thief isn't just holding your ring anymore, they're holding the god's property. The crime just went from simple theft to sacrilege, and now you've made a powerful god a wronged party with personal skin in the game. It's genius. But Silvianus, he took it a step further. And this is the truly wild part. He didn't promise the god Nodens the whole ring. No, he promised him half its value. This is basically a divine business contract. He's saying, look, Nodens, you and me, we're partners. Help me get my ring back, and we both get a cut. It's not just a prayer, it's a deal. So for decades, the ring is just sitting in some collection, and the tablet is a weird little curiosity in a museum. Nobody puts 2 and 2 together, until an archaeologist starts digging back at that same temple. The year is 1929, and this is the moment when the two halves of our story finally slam together. An archaeologist named Sir Mortimer Wheeler is running the dig at the temple. He knows about the cursed tablet they found there, and he happens to hear about this weird, oversized ring found 100 miles away with the name Senicianus on it. He's the very first person to go, wait a second, these have to be part of the same story. But Wheeler had a question. Who the heck was this god Nodens? To figure it out, he reached out to an expert on old languages and myths at Oxford University. and that expert was a young professor named John Ronald Reuel Tolkien. So Tolkien actually travels to the dig site to research the god's name, and the place itself is soaked in folklore. It's this old hill that's just riddled with ancient mine shafts and tunnels. The local people even had a nickname for it, Dwarf's Hill. So let's recap. We have a cursed golden ring, an ancient dark power, and a place called Dwarf's Hill. Is that starting to sound familiar? Tolkien finishes his research on the god Nodens, and just 1 year after getting totally immersed in this ancient story about a powerful, cursed ring, he begins writing a new story called The Hobbit, a story where a small hero finds a golden ring that can make him invisible, a ring that was stolen a long time ago, a ring that its old owner desperately wants back. The timing is, let's just say it's pretty incredible. So, is that it? Case closed? Was the vine ring the one true inspiration? Well, like with all great stories, the truth is a little more complicated. Tolkien himself talked about how ideas come from the leaf mold of the mind, this rich mix of everything you've ever read or seen or heard. Really, the best way to think about it is like a ring soup. The vine ring and its curse were a huge, important ingredient for sure, one he came across at the absolute perfect time. But the soup also had flavors from Plato's story of the Ring of Gigi's, another invisibility ring, Wagner's epic operas, and even old folktales. The One Ring wasn't based on just one thing. It was this masterful blend of everything. And it leaves you with this final, kind of amazing thought. The One Ring became this symbol of ultimate, world-ending power, but its possible ancestor, the Vine Ring, started with something so much smaller and more human. Just one guy, Silvianus, who really wanted his stolen ring back. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many of our biggest, most epic myths started out as one person's simple, desperate plea for justice?